Hi, I'm Tim Black. I'm a senior writer at the online magazine Spiked. Since the economic crisis took hold a few years ago, it has been remarkable how so many different people have sought to blame the same thing for our current economic and social woes. They blame our greed, our insatiable pursuit of more, as one critic put it, quoting Edmund Burke. In fact, the same critic went on to give what must now be the textbook explanation for the crisis. He said, "This recession is unique in that its origins didn't lie in an external shock such as rocketing oil prices or war, but in overconsumption and greed. Everyone wanted more," he concluded. And as I say, this explanation for how we've arrived at our present economic and social impasse has not been limited to one political party or one stripe of comment. It's been adopted across the board. Labour, Conservative, Lib Dems, the Church of England, broadsheet commentators, self-styled radicals such as Occupy, all have sought to explain the major problems we as a society face in terms of the avarice, the greed of individuals. So, for example, at the beginning of this year, the coalition government's big policy promise was not major investment in infrastructure. No, the big policy promise was to tackle the big salaries of chief executives. Something must be done, promised Prime Minister David Cameron. Business Secretary Vince Cable joined Cameron in slamming those at the top of society, getting runaway rewards. One influential commentator even called for everyone's earnings to be made public. What is there to hide, she said, except dishonesty or moral shame at earning multiples more than others who work as hard or harder? In other words, people ought to be shamed into earning less. In fact, so ubiquitous is this railing against individuals' greed that the Archbishop of Canterbury, Rowan Williams, thought nothing of using his sermon for the Queen's Diamond Jubilee service not to pay a bland tribute to the Queen, but to attack, as he put it, the traps of ludicrous financial greed and the focus on narrow individual fulfilment. Now, this obsession with tackling our supposed greed, whether the focus is on chief executives' pay, banker bonuses, or the grasping materialism of the rest of us, does not amount to an economic understanding of the current crisis. What it does amount to, rather, is a narrow moralism. It is a shallow, politically backward attempt to blame the behaviour of individuals, indeed, to demonise the behaviour of individuals. Either way, the implication of this narrowly moralistic criticism of our social and economic situation is clear. If greed is defined as the problem, if greed is identified as the source of our woes, then changing our behaviour, modifying our desires and aspirations appears as the solution. Hence we are being urged to stop wanting so much. We are being told to lower our material aspirations. We need to want less and refrain from consuming far more. And you can rest assured that there are plenty in the political media class who are all too keen to help us on the road to this ersatz salvation. This is why the discourse of anti-inequality, which often accompanies the shrill assault on the greed of individuals, has very little to say about raising material living standards. In fact, those who attack greed on the one hand and talk of reducing inequality on the other have no interest in raising the living standards of the majority. They merely want to limit the wealth of the minority, all in the name of making the rest of us feel better, feel less envious, less driven by material envy. It is not the material standard of life the anti-greed, anti-inequality brigade want to raise, it is our self-esteem. For those looking for an easy scapegoat and a simple-minded explanation of the current crisis, the greed of individuals is ideal. But for those who want something more, something better, the wealth of a minuscule proportion of the population is less worrying than the poverty of ambition currently dominating the political response to these straitened times. Aspiring to live a better life, a materially richer life, is not the problem, but the assault on this aspiration definitely is.